Whoa. HFR, Matt strumming a Breedlove guitar. Breedlove, Bend, Oregon. Fantastic.
Used to be.
No, they're still here in Bend.
Are they still?
Breedlove, Bedell, Weber guitars, conglomeration of guitars. A bunch of them handmade here. But like everybody else, you got to have a China component, right? Somebody's got to make it in China.
Right.
Happy Thanksgiving Eve, Matt. Thanksgiving Eve. It's one of my favorite days of the year.
Biggest bar night of the year.
Biggest bar night of the year for sure. Matt, I was in
which people don't know that. You know, I'd like to bring that one up always. Not a big bar night for me or you, but the kids
not anymore, but for sure was.
The kids come home from college, right?
Yep.
That's their thing.
Matt, I was in the Limerick Lounge in Antioch, Illinois, on a Wednesday, pre-Thanksgiving, and it was great because you're getting ready for the Turkey Bowl, right? And so you're taking names down. Like, listen, are you going to play or not? We'll be at the field at 10 in the morning, and it was important because if they said they were going to be there, right, and then they didn't show, very, very bad report card for Santa. Coming just 5 weeks later. But there was a time in the Limerick Lounge, a Wednesday, that a man rode into the bar on a horse. Shit you don't see all the time. Really? On a horse. And it was very precarious because once that horse hit that linoleum tile floor,
whoa,
shit got very sketchy. Anyway, man, I bring that up because it's Thanksgiving, and so we're going to talk a few things that we wouldn't normally talk. And the first one I want to bring up for your Turkey Bowl pleasure, like you got to bring something to drink for the Turkey Bowl. First of all, you're probably going to be nursing a hangover from the Wednesday night,
right?
For the Ute. And then here it is. We're in the Magic Test Kitchen here, and so I have this graphic up. Or this picture to show it, and I've searched far and wide, and I still cannot find a hot toddy recipe that my father-in-law taught me from the Canadian military. Now, he was a tank commander, and they're bred differently than the rest of us. But the hot toddy, and here it is. There's a few other things in there that could go. The original hot toddy recipe, Matt, is whiskey or bourbon with some sort of hot lemon water, then with like cinnamon and honey, some sort of lemon water spiked drink. They call that a hot toddy. All right. But his hot toddy, which he taught me, which is far superior in my opinion, is the Campbell's Soup beef consomme. All right. Now this sounds strange. Beef consomme hot with whiskey, some rosemary. You can hit it with a little nutmeg or a little bit of cinnamon. I like fresh rosemary in there swirled around. It's a savory, hot alcoholic drink. It is so damn good. It is beyond belief how good this is. So the Manja Kitchen hot toddy, a la Sergeant Garner, dude, I'm telling you. And if you're not going to play, especially if you're not going to play in the Turkey Bowl and it's cold where you're at, and you need to sip something on the sideline, make us a couple thermoses.
I was going to say thermoses of these, right? Or hydro flasks if you're in Bend.
Exactly.
Anyway, Yetis if you're in the other 49 states.
Yeah, Yeti me this. Man, let's go to Campbell's Soup. It's a stock that we have not covered, but they make beef consomme. I'm sure you can find somebody else. And it's different than beef broth. Let me point that out. And I don't know what the difference is. I just know that it's different. Don't do this with beef broth. It's clear. It's probably darker brown.
I was probably going to say it's thicker. It's probably got some,
Oh, it is so
fat.
good.
It's got some fat in it.
Beef consomme.
Some fat floating around in it. Hey, cut it out.
We got a studio audience today in Market Vitals headquarters, HQ. Mo, talk to me, Mo. Let's look at Campbell's.
Campbell's Soup. High of 57 was seen. Interesting, like the end of the world was coming when COVID started. So this is one of those end of the world stocks that spiked. It actually went higher, or it went to 57. and then it ratcheted all the way back down to 41. Hey,
put them in your lap.
I cannot put him in my lap again. If he comes over here, I will. Got a new pup. Anyway, so 57 down to 41. And, we took out that COVID low early 22. But here's the thing, Bob, at least this pays, again, consumer products, solid consumer products, pays 2.82%. Not a lot on the dividend side.
It's going to have to up its dividend game. And you're going to have to put that dog in the closet for the show.
Trading 52.28 as we speak. So again, this thing doesn't trade much. If you want to own something that at least kicks off something, I would say, during the time when, if you're looking for some stability in your portfolio, this is a name, right? This is a name that you can see what it does. And the thing about it is, with 1 month's paying more than 2 years, the inversion curve is so strong that I would say just buy 1 month bonds right now. So
we've been on this thread, Matt. It's going to be interesting. Another name that we're going to write down and track.
Like, I see people talking about this all the time. Name one stock you'd buy for the next year? Well, my answer is always Philip Morris, if you're going to put a gun to my head, because I'm going to get paid 9%. Right. Or one of these natural gas plays, right? That has to kick off all their profits back to in a dividend. There's a lot of those out there too that you can look into. And speaking of that, let's talk a little natural gas, because once again, oil has been the story quietly, but it is the holiday and they're trying to ratchet it down so they can have this narrative again that everything is great, right? Did they do a pay to play deal with pardoning MBS? I don't know. I don't think that's going to come out to be that way. Honestly, I think it's going to backfire. And I think the Arabs have the potential to put the kibosh on Biden. And why would they want to be friendly with this guy when Biden's a jerk? I mean, he's an absolute putz.
Well, it's the same, Matt. The same irony when you look at the World Economic Forum top tier people. They're all oil people.
Yeah.
I mean, explain that to me.
Right.
The oil barons are the one that's going to push the climate narrative. Yeah. Somehow they're pushing the climate narrative. The only thing that it's done is pushed resource prices through the roof.
Right. So natural gas, we were talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Just a week ago. It was down there in the 4s and 5s and 475. Then 570 was the low. And I said, when we get past this gap in here, we're going to run. And sure enough, today was that day. Perfect. Thin holiday trading. Why wouldn't we fill that gap right up in here? And we traded all the way up to 760 or so. And that's right where it should have gone. And now we're
and Matt and the standard deviation modeling had the same level, 750. Major argument, because we have not changed the slope on the medium to longer term chart just yet. And so
if you bought this dip, if you bought these dips again earlier in the week, sell please, because you're up 20%. If you bought 650, if you bought 575, if you bought 450, I mean, all these levels we've been saying to buy. So once again, this is kind of like the 1, 2, 3rd step up. I'm not saying we don't have more to come, but peel off some 20 to 50% and then buy it when it comes back in. Buy it when it comes back in. It just gives you a great average. You're just increasing your average, and buy it as it pulls back. It's a lot easier to do it that way than to wait for maybe the rush back to 10 that may come or may not come. We don't know. So.
No, we don't know. And I want to point this out. I had this conversation in some private conversations, the same thing, Matt. And lo and behold, when I share this, you're going to see if I can share. When I can share, I'll share. Of course I'd share. Why wouldn't I share? I'm the sharing type. Sharing is caring, Matt. And the availability to share is what we're all looking. We're all looking for higher energy loving. That how interesting is that?
Mm-hmm.
Still can't share, want to share. He's going to share. Here comes the share. Anyway, Natty, look at this on the 3-day. Now, I had the conversation when we go, I'm going to fractal out to the weekly. All right, because this level now is amazingly too, it keeps kicking up as we rally. It was 750 2 days ago, and now it's all the way up to 790. So even the chart is afraid of this. All right. Recapture on the monthly is 782. the weekly, the chart is afraid of it. It keeps backing off. It was 750 on Monday. And so now it's up to 790. But when you come into the 3-day, we fully rounded the bands now. All right. And so now any kind of pullbacks, this is very bullish. 3 days, very bullish. 1 day, very bullish. We've changed the slope of the bands. You don't have this move. And I keep saying this, you don't have a move without positive slope on the bands and making higher highs. It's almost like it's the same concept, Matt. You don't have rallies if people aren't lifting offers. Like, it's the dynamic of the market. You got to lift offers to have rallies. There's no rallies that everybody just keeps hitting the bid, right? Offers get lifted, highs are made, and then the slope of the standard deviation modeling tells you that this has probably got a little bit longer term legs to it than if you're fighting the slope. That's the nuance we talk about all the time in standard deviation trading. And in the profile, same thing. You're filling low volume areas, and bingo, you pointed it out, and that is what it did. All right, beef consomme, Campbell's. Matt, let's look at the other. So the original way for the hot toddy, Matt, is the cinnamon, maple syrup, lemon juice, lemon water, hot lemon water with whiskey or bourbon. We haven't looked at McCormick, but the spice trade, I mean, I think it's the second oldest trade, right? Or the second oldest profession was selling your spices. The oldest profession we all know is being on TikTok and selling something else. But the spice trade is the second oldest profession, selling your spices, no pun intended. McCormick, Matt, the spice aisle always pisses me off. And the reason why it pisses me off is because the expense. I mean, it's insane how expensive spices are. Yeah. And McCormick has had a pretty giant share of this market for as long as I can remember. But we haven't covered it in a while. So
yeah, I think we've covered it maybe 20, we might have covered it in 20 or 21. What, I don't remember. It was another Thanksgiving. I do remember we might have covered it, but why not? Why wouldn't we talk about McCormick? Because their products are definitely going to be used around the kitchens, and they've had the bump. I mean, this is the type of thing. Look, $70 was seen here in early October, and we're all the way up here to 86. So believe it or not, even in McCormick, you can get some nice swift moves in short times around seasonal ideas. And here's one where, again, it peaked in March of last year, probably Easter weekend, and sold off down to the 6 weeks, let's call it 2 months before Thanksgiving. And here we are, Thanksgiving. I would bet this is probably, it might have a little bit more to go with Christmas coming, but maybe not a lot, and maybe not. Maybe it's already turned down. I don't know. Again, we don't know these things. But as far as the profile goes, it's above. This is a multi-year. This is about a 5-year chart that we're looking at, and came right back down to this joust level, this big diving board level that pointed it right back up. And but again, it's running out of steam at the next kind of resistance above there, which is kind of this 87 to 93 area, which was the most recent high, which we saw in August, was 93. So very sharp and contrasting moves going on here, up and down, up and down. And the trend is down. The trend is down. So, which makes sense. Like if you're buying Campbell's soup, and you hope you might not have any money left for because it's the spices that McCormick sells that kills you. To your point, like, I mean, the good thing about Campbell's soup is it's salty, so you don't need more salt.
Are they paying? What does their dividend look like?
The dividend on this company today is 1.72. Again, for all the money that they're printing. And by the way, this trades around 1.1 million shares a day. So it's very active, which makes sense, right? This is a good residual buy and hold stock. I would say today, we're talking buy and hold stocks so far. Campbell's, we're talking McKesson. These are buy and hold type consumer product stocks, right? And if you want to own them, just like you said, why wouldn't you? Again, I don't smoke. I don't like smoking. I don't like people that smoke. I don't
Wait
want
a
to get,
second. We're trying to vibrate higher.
I
here.
don't want to kiss an ashtray is all I'm saying.
Right on.
So
Right on.
that's
All right,
me.
Matt. Let me see here. Where do we go next? Let's talk Dr. Copper, Matt.
Well, let's talk about what's going on in China a little bit with Foxconn. I mean, they got a factory over there with 200,000 employees. Some type of news coming out that they're revolting,
well, the crazy thing is, I think they've already suffered a COVID outbreak, and then they just lock everybody in the factory. Like
right.
that's
get back to work.
Like that's a long-term solution to your employees. Matt, there's no coverage of this, by the way.
No.
On mainstream media. You don't see CBS is going to get this in 2 years.
Right.
If they prove out their timeline issue. 2 years, they'll be like, look what happened.
Look what happened.
So where do you want to go from there? We can look at Apple or we can go to copper. You shared this in the network. Humans mined 700 million tons of copper over the last 5,000 years. The same 700 million tons will need to be mined over the next 22 years to meet energy transition targets using wind, solar, and electric vehicles. When I see a stat like that, I have such a hard don't bet on the fundamentals. Like it's impossible. That cannot happen. There's just no way you can mine 700 million tons of copper in the next 22 years.
Well, and again, the math on this, I'm not going to be able to double check it, fact check it, whatever you want to say. So I don't know if there's any realistic, but I would say it's probably close. Somebody's probably close. Maybe they misplaced a zero. I don't know, but if this is true, yeah, I mean, copper is needed in all kinds of semiconductors, right? We're semiconductor driven. So even if you just look at the chip side, forget about batteries. There's semis in every little piece that needs to be, put in there as a transistor. All these transistor pieces driving energy. It's all energy. Copper is all about energy. So to your point, and we talked about this coming in at some point, when do the prices, if copper were to go higher, and we're going to look at it in a second, if it were to go higher, at what point, did the prices of electric cars are already, as you mentioned, through the roof? Why would we want to buy more electric cars when gas cars are expensive? They're all expensive. So it creates a dilemma. It creates an economic dilemma, marginal rate of utility, right? Does making electric cars really make sense to the environment if you have to dig all that copper up just to make EVs? Again, there's so many people that have done the argument. I'm not going to have it, but the argument is pretty simple. Like, why do we need electric cars when gas cars are really more efficient in all? When you look at all of the energy that is used to make a gas car, and they're pretty clean, they're really clean. Diesel engines can run 5,000 miles or 500,000 to 1,000,000 miles. So, I mean, and even though diesel smells dirty, it's actually clean. So, I don't know where to go with it except to say that I think this will play out. The market will proof out, and right now it makes no sense financially to go full EV when you start looking at these costs. But real quick, let's take a look at Apple because it's everybody's darling. And again, 150 has kind of been the line in the sand for me for a while here, and it's hanging around it. And it's not going higher and it's not going lower. I still think you got a mini bracket, basically 155 down here to 130. When 130 goes again, it's going to fall, and it's going to fall fast. And I think that will happen next year. And I think this will trade back down to at least to 80. The COVID low was 53. So Apple still has, we're nowhere near a bottom in this market. I don't think until Apple bottoms, we're nowhere near a bottom. You have to get rid of the big dogs too. You can't just say, oh, everything's fine, we need to go up, because Kathy Woods was buying, what was she buying yesterday? So a big ton of what did she buy? GBTC. Let's look at that, because when you still have this speculation going on, and she's talking about $100 million Bitcoin price, I'm like, oh my God, we're so far. Kathy, have you not been watching the show? Bitcoin is going to 12,000 first, then 8, then 3. That has to happen, Kathy. It's not time to buy GBTC. This thing's possibly going to go to zero. She bought like 200,000 shares or something of this yesterday.
I don't know.
So there you go. She bought GBTC. This thing, if you watch Mark Cahodes, this thing's going to zero too. So I would not touch this thing with Lee's money again here. I do not trust anything in the bit environment. I think Coinbase also, by the way, is looking really deathly. But this one is interesting. I think you really have to watch the Coinbase and GBTC are really, I think, the next two big Bitcoin names that are going to crumble to the ground and just burn people down. It's happening. I mean, it's happening as we speak. Coinbase is down here at 44. It actually got below this low from previously down here like 36 recently. And if you look at that coin, I don't know, I was looking at this morning, the coin USD. Have you looked at this recently?
I have not.
Okay, so this is telling me a lot more than the stock is. Like, this is down $13 again today, and it 2 days ago it was 80. So this thing's been, look at the volatility in this thing trading in coin USD since really the last 2 weeks. Bob, have you seen this? I mean, what does that tell you?
Is that their bonds? What exactly?
No,
is it?
that's their Coinbase US dollar, right? Remember when we were looking at that?
I do not, and I.
Well, we were looking at it, it's a coin. It's one of these,
So it's a coin like
FTT USD. It's the same thing. It's just a crypto piece of crap. So this thing, and if you want to look at the longevity of this thing, the coin USD, I mean, this thing was 645 when it went public in April of 21. It shot all the way up here. Now it's down to as low as 27.
That's
trading.
The stock?
No. This is the coin. This is the crypto coin.
All right. Again, I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to see the
if you look at my chart here, coin COIN/USD, it's trading on the FTX exchange.
That can't be because it's not trading.
Well, but I'm looking at it right here. It's on the FTX exchange is where we're getting the quote. So I'm sure it trades in other exchanges too. My point is this thing has got to be going to zero quickly.
Okay, short it.
Yeah. Well, where are you going to trade it? Where's the exchange?
Well, I don't know.
But let's talk about it. Genesis, all these names. I mean, this is your world. What's going on with Genesis? They're going bankrupt now.
It is, and the harvesting. Anybody that and I had a problem with the interest. They called it interest rate harvesting or something like that. I always had a problem with this. They're saying they were paying a rate. Like the only way you can pay a rate on an investment is if then you go relend the money and earn a higher rate.
Right.
That's how the whole thing works. So interest rate harvesting, just in as idea, it still has to have a backdrop. It still has to have a business model where you then relend. I give you the money, you reinvest it, you make more money than you're paying me. It seems pretty simple, and that's the way it's been forever. So, I think Coinbase, back to the stock, if you want to talk about the stock, their biggest problem is that they're an exchange. They make money on transactions. And so if the price of Bitcoin is lower, that by nature is going to make their transaction revenue lower. And as prices are lowered, not as many people trade. So it's a double whammy on their income side.
Right.
And whether they can weather that storm or not is yet to be seen. And that's their big cash crunches, is the fact that their business model can't produce the money that it did when Bitcoin was rallying, number one, and at the prices that it got to when those valuations and frankly, I think they borrowed a lot on those valuations. Again, that's why their bonds. I asked, well, if that was their bonds, because they're trading at a discount. Because people see the same thing. I mean, it's not any different than any other business model. And when people try to, I think you just cloud the water when you try to treat it differently. That's my thought on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and listen, I want to talk a little bit about, like, since it's a slow day, and we can talk about kind of what we're setting up for here in the future. But weekly claims came out hitting a 14-week high today. And I think this is important because Biden's been banging the drum that, we're back. First of all the jobs he created were wiped out by the pandemic, that he wiped away the jobs and made people have to quit, get fired, et cetera. And now everybody's being rehired back, or they don't want to go back because they're sucking on the teat of the government and they like that. Like I was talking about it yesterday, like what do you think the number is? I mean, most of these people are getting somewhere in the terms of in the range of, I don't know, $1,000 a week. Like if you have a couple kids and you're not working, like between food stamps and healthcare and paychecks, they're getting literally $1,000 plus a week. Like that's a lot of money. Like why? And I see why they don't work. So I'm asking more of a mechanical question. Is this why people aren't working? Because people are content to get high on the tons of weed that are cheaply coming into the door, and then play video games that are cheap also? Because I'm just trying to understand, is this what we've come down to? People don't care. They just want to get high. They want to get baked and then play video games all day and collect their $1,000 in benefits. Is that where we are?
Very possibly.
But no, but what's interesting, I would like to see this chart again, initial claims going back to like before, give me a 10-year chart of this, right? Give me from Trump years on. Like I assure you, we're nowhere near the highs in jobs that we had during the Trump administration, right? So that all peaked when COVID started. So, he had a great record until COVID in February, March, when the bottom fell out. We're not back to the levels of jobs in this country that we were at before COVID. We're not there. So Biden, banging the drum, like where are the Republicans saying you're not even back? Like, why aren't they talking about that? The talking points are so easy to me. Like the facts are the facts. Stop the lies. Stop somebody's got to put a plug in the dam on this stuff, because it's just endless.
Well, don't expect that anytime soon, as the neocon McCarthy's going to run the House and nothing's going to get done to your agenda. Zero.
No, I know.
Zero. And by the way, Trump in all his glory still increased the fucking deficit through the roof.
Yeah,
and had
for sure.
No problem with the Fed being a QE to infinity organization.
Right. But I think this chart is interesting because, again, we're taking out levels that we haven't seen since a year ago, and we're going the other way, right? The bottom, I think, is in here on initial claims. The bottom is in. Like we made higher highs here, March to September, and now we're going back up. So the claims are going up, which does not portend to a good consumer situation. So again, think about those stocks that we've talked about going forward. Costco, Dillard's, names like that. Crocs has had a huge rally. Sell these things. People aren't going to be buying these after the holidays. The earnings are not going to be pretty. I just don't see it happening.
Man, interesting. Bring up the copper chart, because the headline that we brought up, 22 years, they're going to mine as much as they did in the past 5,000. Mm-hmm. The chart doesn't look so explosive to me anymore.
Yeah, no, it hasn't for a while. And I'll bring up a long-term chart on Dr. Copper. And again, as I say, as copper goes, so goes the market. Well, copper was down here at $1.98 come March of 20. The COVID low ran all the way up to 5, spiked all the way down to 316, hasn't got back to value, which is about 260, ran up to 4 here, right to the bottom where it broke, and now has rolled over again. So again, if you're paying attention, 390 was a good level to sell. It got to 396, all the way back down here. Battle, a little mini battle going on here at 360, right where we are. But if it gets below, 338 again, next it's going to go probably and test next levels, I would guess. So this is bearish. Anything really below this 450, any bumps up into that area remains bearish, and it does to me still look like it wants to trade down to 260. So. Again,
we talked about it on the way.
Articles like this are not a reason to go hog wild and buy this, unless you fundamentally think something that nobody else does. Right now, the price does not agree with that, and there's a lot of smart people that own copper in funds, et cetera, that are involved in this. So just think about this. It does not, to me, appear to be a very bullish situation when it comes to copper for the longevity of EVs, et cetera.
Well, exactly. I mean, because there has to be on the fundamental side, there's there's price inelasticity in everything,
right?
At some point,
right?
And so we had that conversation on the way in. You're not just going to be able to, pass on, if this truly did go through the roof, those costs to the consumer. The consumer's going to pull back for sure.
Yeah,
101%. I'm going to say. All right, man, let's go back to the Manja TV kitchen.
Well, I have one idea, kind of old school product and consumer product that I think will get hit on that too, and that's Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson has a lot of copper, obviously, and it's a gas powered machine. in most cases. This thing has, saw a COVID low, as you would expect, of $14, and it went up, 4x 52, let's call it. It's had a recent spike on some good earnings, paying a dividend of 1.3%, which at least you can say as a manufacturer of a motor vehicle, that's pretty good. You don't see Ford and GM paying those dividends, so at least it's something. But at the end of the day, are people going to be buying new motorcycles in an environment like this? I don't think so. So hate to say it, but I think this is an easy short here at $47, where it has spiked, an easy short at least back to $36.
It sure looks like and if you're long and you're not taking profit into that double top in the high end of this value range, we talk pigs. We'll talk pigs later. Pigs later. Right. I wanted to talk Matt Longplex, our friend, has just been killing it on the baking side. I want to talk to him about dough, because he just shares one awesomely baked pie or cinnamon roll after another. My idea here is this: when you get the dough right, instead of baking the pie, you bake just multiples of these little, I don't know, pastry. I don't even know what you call it. I did these, Matt.
Yeah, by the way, I saw those, and I hope you saved me one and you're bringing it over, because whatever it was looked amazing.
That's, I just hate when you cut a pie, right, and all the filling kind of falls in the middle, and then by the time that the last person gets their piece of pie, it looks like it looks like you should call the police for what happened to that thing.
Been murdered, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. This is my little holiday tip: is to actually make individual pastries. It's about the same amount of dough, maybe a little bit more, and the crust is, if it's good, it's what you want anyway. Crust it up.
Right.
Now let's talk it though. It's gluten. Let's talk wheat. There was going to be the end of the world with the Ukraine situation, as no wheat was going to leave Ukraine. Amazingly, that was all another narrative that was full of shit.
Although feet on the ground suggest otherwise. There's not a lot of wheat leaving there, but
the price, it's surely not showing up.
I hear you, but talking to wheat traders, and again, they're talking their book possibly, but I was talking to some recently. But let's bring it up. Let me bring it up.
Yeah, like who cares what I agree. It's the price is the only thing that matters.
Again, we saw a high a year ago, March of 22, 1364. This is a very long-term chart, right? Still very bullish. Anywhere above 630 is where the value is. So this chart still looks good. It just kind of had a blow off, and it has settled in here just like it was settling in here before. So old high 750 continues to be maintained. And I just think that this is still bullish. I think there's still upside coming in this. If we pull it back to a smaller time frame to look at the last month or so, again, if you're looking for an opportunity, this may be a low in here, maybe around 780, 750. Ultimately, to me, is still kind of like the area. So if you can pick some up in here, this looks to me like, again, just for the last 2 months, 3 months, that's at the lower end of a range, right? If you're looking for something bullish, it might be on the wheat trade to me.
All right. All righty then. All right, what else we got, Matt? We got hold on.
Listen, we got a huge not only is it the biggest bar night, but this is a great sports weekend, because it's typically, the big the end of the year battles. Michigan, Ohio State, right? We have Texas, Baylor. We got a big number of things going on. So why don't you come in with
first of all, Matt, first of all, let's get to the fundamentals here. And fundamentally, by the time the two teams take the field on Saturday, it will mark 8,043 days since the Wolverines last tasted victory in Columbus. That was November 18th, 2000. I was
at that game, by the way.
7 days after that last win in Columbus, Blake Corum was born. we got a unavailable status for him for Saturday.
Well, listen, he came back on the field last Saturday after getting hurt in that last sequence in Ann Arbor against Illinois. He did come back and he actually ran one play, it looked fine, but then he never came back out. I think they just decided, hey, we don't really want to hurt him. If we're going to lose, we're going to lose with him, without him. And it worked out, right? They really, again, listen, if you're going to win a national championship, you need some luck along the way. And I would say to you, Michigan definitely didn't play their best game against Illinois, but their defense held, and defense does win championships. And at the end of the day, Illinois could not push the ball in past early third quarter. So, and I think Mike Morris Michigan had a ton of injuries. And at this time of year, every team has a ton of injuries, right? It's a brutal game. Michigan's got a guard. Their starting guard had been out. They have defensive lineman. Mike Morris had been out. Their running backs are basically 1-2, and they both play during a typical game. They both get a ton of touches, whether it's throws to Edwards or runs to Edwards, or throws to Corum and runs to Corum. So, and their leading tight end, Schoonmaker, was out. They were playing a true freshman who stepped up, by the way, and played a great game. Number 18, Loveland, out of Idaho. Harbaugh went all the way to Idaho to find this small town monster, and he's going to be a star. I mean, he's number 18. Look for him on the field. So again, the thing about college football or pro football is you have to have guys that can step up and play when somebody, gets hurt, because it's going to happen, especially this time of the year. So you can blame injuries for your losses, or you can move on and try to get better. And I would tip the hat to Michigan and say, gosh, they've made it this far. And I would say no matter who wins this game, unless Ohio State beats us 63-7, I think both teams are in the college football playoff regardless. I mean, how can you have a 12-0 team and an 11-1 team, and you're going to tell me LSU at 9-2 is better? I don't buy it. I just I'm sorry.
Well, so you better take care, because I think Ohio State loses a squeaker, they're in. I think Michigan loses a squeaker, you're out.
That's what everybody else says. I think that's bump kiss is all I'm saying. Ohio State has not impressed me with their shitty schedule either. That's all I'm saying. Notre Dame is their toughest game. Okay, big deal. Notre Dame is 8-3. We'll see. You know what? At least Notre Dame. If Notre Dame beats USC, USC's knocked out. So go Notre Dame. Go Irish.
What else do you got? You were 6-3 last week.
6-3 last week. So listen, we tomorrow. Okay, today we kick off the holiday weekend. Is always a big tradition in Detroit. The first thing that happens in Detroit on Thanksgiving weekend is Wednesday night. You know what Wednesday night is in Detroit?
I do not.
Yeah,
I was there.
It's probably the most fun night to be going to the hockey game. And Detroit always plays on Wednesday at home. This is why it's a great weekend, because you have Wednesday Red Wings, you have Thursday Lions, and usually Michigan or Ohio State, obviously one of those is hosting. Sometimes, so it's Red Wings, Lions, Michigan. That's your weekend. So this is the weekend, but this weekend happens to be Lions are home, Red Wings are home as always. Michigan is in Columbus. But what a weekend for Midwest hardcore sports fans who haven't won in Columbus for 8,043 days. Wow, that's a long time.
Who do the Red Wings got tonight?
The Red Wings.
What do I know about hockey?
Well, you said you've been watching it a little bit.
Red
Wings are playing the Predators tonight. And let's look at that a little bit. They are playing the Predators, and they are 9-5 with 4 ties. So, they've got 4 ties, which gives them the extra points. Coming off they had a rough streak there where they lost 4 in a row. It must have been when you started mushing them. Because that 8-2 game against Rangers, and then they lost back-to-back close ones on the West Coast, and then they finally made got it together, beat San Jose, beat Columbus, and now are at home tonight against the the Predators. So watch for that. They're in 4th place in the Atlantic Division, looking solid. again, nobody gave him any credit early in the season, so I'm gonna continue to ride the Red Wings into the playoffs this year, which they haven't been in about 8 years. So that's all I want. Playoff team.
Bingo. All right, who do you got NCAA?
Oh, and then tomorrow we get the Lions. I'm definitely taking the Lions plus 9.5 against the hapless Bills. I mean, the way the Bills have been playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit beat them. I really wouldn't. Detroit is fired up. The crowd is going to be crazy. John Madden's ghost is going to be there handing out the turducken. It's the best game. I mean, these games are good tomorrow. You know, a lot of times the NFL really, you know, because it's always it's always the Cowboys in the afternoon. It's always the Lions. And you know, they've added the third game now, of course, which is so 3 good games: Lions, Bills, Giants, Cowboys, and Patriots, Vikings. You'll know what I'll be doing tomorrow morning. Definitely watching this Bills Lions game. I'll take the 9.5 against Josh Allen. Why wouldn't I? I'll take the 9.5. Of
course you would, because your rule is 10 and it's not
10,
there.
10 is the rule. Just so it's a homer bet. So there's no intelligence on this bet. It is a homer bet plus 9.5. Why wouldn't we win? Go to 5 and 6. I'm expecting the Vikings to lose at home to the Patriots and go to 8 and 3. We're only going to be 3 back in the North.
Let me ask you this: have you played the Vikings yet this year? Have the Lions?
I think they have, but I'm not sure. I think they played early
because they get to. That'd be interesting if they get to play them twice.
Oh, they always play twice, of course.
No, I know if the 2 games are still ahead of them.
No, they played early, lost by 4, 28-24 at the Vikes. So they have them at home, which is good. They should have beat them that game. Again, remember, the Lions only lost by 3, they lost by 4, they lost by 3, and they were 1 and 3. Like, people are counting this team out, but they're good. The Patriots lost hurt. You know, the Cowboys lost hurt, but then they've been playing good ball outside of that. So listen, the Lions are not, don't shade the Lions. Don't shade them.
No lay down this year. No lay down Lions.
Now on the pro side of things, there's a few games I like, but again, there's a full slate. We got tomorrow. We're gonna give you one for, you know, we have Halloween. We have Thanksgiving games. Always a good game. Mississippi State versus Ole Miss. So if one of those pro games goes sideways, you flip on the SEC and you watch Lane Kiffin in Oxford host the Bulldogs. You got the bell going on. I mean, what a great game. I love it. And this is the only time I would watch this game when nothing else is on. So watch it. Ole Miss. I like this game. Take Ole Miss given 3 is what the line is now. Take actually 2.5. Ole Miss 2.5 over Mississippi State. They got waxed last week. They're going to, you know, come back for a comeback game. And then the next day we got Baylor, Texas. I don't really like that 7 points. I would probably take Baylor, but I'm not going to bet that game. I'm going to move to Saturday, and later on Friday. There's a lot of, again, these games, the matchup games. So you got Mississippi -3 at home. Take them. UNC coming back after a defeat last week, -6.5 at home against NC State. Arkansas at Mizzou. Take Arkansas, given the 3 points, -3 against Mizzou. Then we're going to move to the West Coast on Friday. Another game I like is this late night one, or early afternoon. UCLA at California. Take UCLA after losing, you know, that shootout to USC. Cal cannot hang with them on a shootout level. Take UCLA -9.5. I like that game. And then Georgia Tech. You know what? The Rambling Wreck has played well this year. They're playing at Georgia. Georgia's looking forward to LSU or whoever they're going to play in the SEC. +36. That's 5 touchdowns. Take Georgia Tech +36 against Georgia on Saturday morning in the morning game. And then moving, staying to the ACC. I like South Carolina getting these 15 points against Clemson, at Clemson in the Battle of South Carolina. And then, of course, the homie game, Michigan at Ohio State in the morning. They're all going off at the same time. I'm going to take the 7.5. I never bet Michigan, but when you want to give me 7.5, I'll take them. And I might take the money line plus 235. I might do the double there, plus 7.5, plus money line.
Homer bet.
Again, obvious homer bet.
Right on.
And I like another homer bet here. I actually like the Oregon State Beavers +3.5. Okay, +3.5. It came out. The Ducks open at 7, so the retail is betting with me here. but I like Oregon State plus the points at home against the Quack. I like it a lot. I don't think Nix is healthy. I don't think he played well last week. They snuck out a win. I think Oregon State will win this one in the Battle of Oregon. And then we're going to come back to Illinois and Wisconsin. Excuse me, Illinois and Northwestern in your Battle of Chicago, which nobody really cares. But I think Illinois will.
No, you're right. You are absolutely right about that.
But I think Illinois minus 14.5 now will cover against Northwestern. I love Penn State against Michigan State. They have fully collapsed after the Michigan game. They're 5-6. They will not make it to a bowl. Mel Tucker should be fired for the debacle that he brought to that program this year. 100%. Fire Mel, pay him his $80 million parachute. It's the best thing you can do, Michigan State, because Penn State is going to whoop you in Happy Valley. They're going to whoop you. And then Notre Dame, come on, bring on the Irish. Beat SC. Defense wins in California. Notre Dame at the Coliseum against SC Trojans plus 6.5. It looks like is what it's going off at right now.
How many games you got there?
That is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
11 games. Beautiful.
11 games.
Beautiful. Over under on Matt being over 500. I think that's the prop bet that we go with right away on our sports betting app that we do not have an affiliate yet.
Right.
Straight pari-mutuel betting. That's our idea. We need to find somebody that can do that for us. Just straight. Listen, I can get action on it just with my crew. I mean, that was the beautiful thing about the trading floor. You didn't need a bookie. There's plenty of action just in your pit, your circle of phone clerks, etc. All right, Matt. It wouldn't be Thanksgiving if I didn't at least pay homage. Hold on a second. There we go. Pay homage to what you're supposed to be doing out there. And that is, let's just bring it up. Emotional frequency. Let's all just try to emote a little higher frequency. Unbelievable, man. We've talked about this for a couple of years, through a couple of holiday seasons. And we point out how much of the content that is shoved on your face vibrates down there at the lowest energy levels known to the planet. I encourage you on a Thanksgiving weekend and into the holidays to try to find yourself some courage, neutrality, and willingness. Moving towards courage. I mean, even pride is a deadly sin, Matt. Even pride resonates. It's better than anger and desire and fear and grief and apathy and guilt and shame. But yeah, that's my wish for you and for everybody out there in Thanksgiving, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, to try to, when you see, it's amazing how quickly you can see the narrative and the messaging. A lot of times, Matt, it's the music score that goes along with it, right? Like if that music that they're pumping that message at you is causing you guilt and shame and grief and fear, turn it off. Turn it off. Just turn it off. Pay no attention to that person that's delivering it and to the message that they're trying to deliver. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man.
Bob, I'm with you. Have a joyful, enlightened, peaceful weekend. All right.
Bingo. All right, Matt, I got one last thing, which is fun. Remember in the 70s, Matt, when you wanted to watch something and it was late and then all of a sudden this happened? That's what we got. Take it easy. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, and Lee, we already talked about the NFL games on Thursday, so we said take the lines. As far as the rest of the games, I don't know if there's any double digits. I have not looked. There's 3 games on Thursday, Lee. Let's see, 8.5, 9.5, 2.5. No. You can take the Dolphins over the Texans, Lee. There you go. If you're looking
Bingo.
And you can take the Chiefs over the Rams. There's your double digit faves. That's all she wrote.